Welcome back. We're chatting with Lia Milousis, who has joined us here via Zoom for an interview, and she's the author of this book, An Inconvenient Life. It's fascinating. It's a great read. I recommend it. So, Leah, you're 12. You've just, you're in your teens now. You're this international, I'd say, pro-life sensation, but you've caught the ire of a lot of haters. You're getting death threats. You're ending up, going through high school. Things probably die down. Now you're at university. What did you study in
Mhm.
university and why?
Yeah, so originally I enrolled in political science. It was something, I knew what universities were like by this point, and so I wasn't keen on going to university, but I felt that if I was really interested in social justice, and by this point I was interested not just in the issue of abortion, but also human trafficking, euthanasia, other social justice issues. So political science was a natural choice. But I eventually swapped into the joint program of political science and feminist and gender studies
Oh,
because I actually took an intro to women's studies course, and the content, I mean, I knew it would be pro-abortion, so that wasn't shocking, but the content was so radical in terms of, advocating for sex work being, women's life calling, saying that disagreeing with people is hatred, accusing Christians of pedophilia and incest because we celebrate purity, like just crazy things that were being said. And I thought, if this is what they're saying in a first year course, what are they saying in the fourth year courses? So I swapped into the program so that I really understand and kind of learn the language of this community of people who clearly existed and had influence, but were really beyond what I would have grown up with and what my communities back home would have been familiar with.
very good. And for many viewers, they might say, well, that sounds fascinating. Another handful of viewers would say, I don't know how I could survive that. So,
Right.
knowing that you probably didn't hold views that I'd say 99% of your classmates did, how did you survive gender and women's studies?
Yeah, well, so the first thing I'll say is that I fast tracked my degree because it really, truly was very depressing. Not really because political science and feminist and gender studies both just try to find problems with the current world, but don't really offer great solutions, if any. And so that was just very depressing. So I did it in 3 years instead of four, just to get myself out sooner. But ultimately, what I started doing and trying to do effectively was take their arguments and kind of spin them around, flip them around, right? So, okay, so you're really passionate about disabilities and folks with disabilities. You're passionate about combating ableism, but people with Down syndrome who are diagnosed in utero in Iceland, for example, 100% of them are aborted. Or the issue of
Mm.
euthanasia, right? How can you have both of these worldviews? And so what I started doing was really taking their arguments and saying, okay, but what happens then when you look at the issue of pornography or prostitution or human trafficking? Because you can't be advocating against these forms of systemic discrimination, but then being okay with sex selection abortion, with ableist based abortion, and with all of the other ways that these systems of exploitation and discrimination actually play out in some of the issues that feminists, different waves of feminists actually support. So that's what I tried to do, and I think I did it fairly effectively in that, I graduated with the highest honors, and I actually made some friends who I think understood that while I was different and didn't agree with everything, I was thoughtful and tried to engage with their beliefs in a reasonable way.
Well, I'm happy to hear that because so many, I don't know if it has to do with the writers of Jordan Peterson or so many other public figures who sort of demonize women and gender studies, and partially rightfully so, but because you do get a lot of ideological woke activists within that studies. But there are things of value to be learned,
Mhm.
and I appreciate those who are willing to engage in that dialogue. So I appreciate that you went through the program, and I'm glad to hear that it wasn't all dour. There were many positive moments. And from there,
Yeah.
you catapulted to your law school and you practice law now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I specialized in social justice law, really shoehorning myself in, but really because these are the issues that I care about. I think these are the issues that are the big issues of our day, right? The issue of euthanasia and assisted suicide that's taking place, the way that it affects folks with disabilities, those who are marginalized, the issues of abortion, the issue of prostitution. I just helped with a Supreme Court challenge on that issue. There are a lot of issues that really affect men and women and folks with disabilities and marginalized populations. And so I've become very passionate, I think, about social justice writ large, and it's something that I want to dedicate my life to.